Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie, and I have a fun owl tier tray for you today. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, the bell if you'd like to be notified, and a thumbs up and a comment is always appreciated. Okay, I thought owl would be a fun theme for a fall tier tray. So my first project, I got this little wood owl in the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree, and I want to make this owl like super special. So the first thing I'm going to do is give it a coat of this ivory chalk paint by Waverly, and I want to give this owl tier tray a coastal feel. I have a coastal house. I live near the beach, and I like to incorporate coastal and blue wherever I can. And I really want to do like a blue and a white theme for this tier tray. It doesn't have to be like traditional owl colors. You can do your owls any color that you want. If it's your tier tray, for sure. So I am getting good coverage. That is like, it's not really wood. It's like more like maybe a pressed wood. These little wood shapes, but they're a nice size. And I couldn't think of anything round to use for eyes. And my teenage son gave me 2 bottle caps. And I'm like, oh, these are perfect. Perfect size because, you know, owls have those really big round eyes. And so use whatever you've got for sure. Now, I did forget to hit record. The only thing you missed there was I gave it a slight distressing with a chunky brush and some antique wax by Waverly. I want to give it that weathered beachy look, but I don't want it to be too dark. So I am going over with a little bit more ivory to brighten it up a bit. And I also use that ivory chalk paint to paint the inside of my bottle caps. Just get a matching set, or you can use anything you've got. I just wanted something round and something that I can make big eyes with. Now I'm using some more of that antique wax by Waverly to kind of bring out some of his little features, his ears, his wings, his feet. I don't necessarily want to paint them, but I do want to like differentiate the color just a little bit. So these little bottle caps are going to be his eyes. I want him to have like a pupil though. So I thought I could use some of these little stickers from the Dollar Tree and just paint them. So I'm just using some chalk paint in the color, I think that's called ink. And I'm just going to paint 2, and those are going to be the pupils for my owl's eyes. Now, this is my favorite owl of the entire tier tray. It's so fun. I definitely went with a coastal vibe for this guy, and you'll see he's going to get more and more coastal. It's one of those projects that you start and you don't know where you're going to go with it. It just kind of evolved, and I really love this project. So these are my little stickers that I painted, and I'm just going to use a drop of hot glue in each bottle cap, and the bottle caps are upside down there, and place my little pupil inside. Now I want to like outline its eyes. You know how owls have like the feathered area, like I guess it's feathers around their eyes, and it's kind of like outline. So I thought I could do it with some of this like decorative rope from the Dollar Tree. So I am just going to open a new package here and try to measure about how much rope it's going to take to wrap around my little bottle cap. And once I get that measured, I'm just going to go ahead and cut a second one for the second eye. And this is what I'm thinking. He's going to have these bottle cap eyes, and I'm going to go around with the rope. So I'm going to go ahead and just use a little bit of hot glue to attach my little bottle cap eyes to my owl. I'm going to kind of space them apart a little bit just because I need to have enough room for that rope to fit in there. And I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue on the bottom to glue down that rope. And it was a little long, so I trimmed it a little bit. And just a little bit of hot glue around it. And kind of just working in sections while my hot glue dries. The only problems that I had with the rope there was the ends wanting to fray a little bit. And so I'm just kind of trimming and using a combination of that and hot glue until I can try to make like all the little pieces stay down. And we have our first little owl eye. And I like that effect it's giving me. It's giving me like the outlined eye effect. And it's going to bring in that rope, which feels very coastal and beachy to me. And, it feels very fall too, that brown color for sure. So I'm going to do the same thing on the second little owl eye here. Just using some hot glue, trimming it a little bit so it doesn't overlap. And using just a little bead of hot glue to secure that one. Now, I didn't really like how you could see inside my bottle cap. Like, it had like the little ridges from like the seal from when a bottle is sealed. So I do keep adding to this a little bit as we go, but we got the outside rim there covered. And I'm just using a little flame to burn off like the excess little strings that's sticking out from the rope. Totally not necessary, but I was just trying to clean it up a little bit. And I had a little bit of hot glue that came out, and I'm just trying to clean that up so that you can't see it. And I kind of scratched the paint, so I was just touching that up a little bit. Now, I want the pupil of his eye to be pretty blue color. It's going to give me that beachy feel. You can do any color you want. I'm going to use one of these paint pens. I got these on Amazon. I love them. There's so many colors to choose from. And I am just going to paint like where a pupil would be and make that blue. I'm going to use like a light blue color a lot on this owl tier tray. And I thought that'd be a great way to bring some blue into this little project. And just doing my best to try to make a circle in there. And that's fairly even. But not get any on my pupils. Okay. The little owl needs a nose. I thought some sea glass would be the perfect nose for my coastal owl. So I got the sea glass at the Dollar Tree. And I'm trying to find one. This one's shaped perfectly, but it's green. And I really didn't want to bring another color into my tier tray. I really wanted it to be blue. So I keep searching until I find a blue one that I like. The green one's cute though. It is the perfect size. I finally find one that is triangular and it looks like it would work. So changing my hot glue battery there, and I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue, and there's always a flat side on those when you buy those at the Dollar Tree, and just glue the flat side down to my owl to give him his cute little beak. I really love this owl project. Definitely my favorite. I have it on the front of the tray because he's an all-star. Then I was thinking, okay, owls have feathers. I'm going to put some feathers like on his little chest. So I'm using that same color aqua paint pen. And then I thought I would give him a couple triangles on his ears and maybe a little feathers. Just a little differentiation since he's not really painted. He's kind of abstract. And then I'm going to use like this brownish color one just to sloppily paint his little feet a little bit to give them a little bit of contrasting color. And then it was a little too clean, so I decided to go over it with a chunky brush and some of that ivory chalk paint and just distress what I painted. And I'm trying to decide what to do with his chest. I thought it would be really fun to do like some little tiny seashells for those feathers on his chest. I just didn't have any seashells that were quite that small. And just giving him a little distressing until I like it. Accidentally got a little bit there on his nose. So I got to clean that up. And he is really looking cute. I really love this owl. So I decided that there was, you could see those little plastic things I was talking about, like on the inside of the bottle cap. So I thought if I could use some of this just wired twine from the Dollar Tree, I could just kind of put that on the inside rim of the bottle cap and give him like a little bit more detail on his eye. And that would also cover up those little plastic ridges. I didn't want it to look like a bottle cap. And I thought that kind of made it look a little bit like a bottle cap. So I'm just kind of cutting into size, twisting the ends, because these things really like to unravel off of the wire. And just kind of wedging that in there inside of the bottle cap eye. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, what am I going to do with this? And I couldn't get it exactly the way I want it, so I'm just kind of messing with it. I decided to secure the bottom with a little bit of hot glue. That way it'll hold it in place. And then once I did that, I was able to pull the wire up a little bit, and that allowed me to hide those little plastic ridges. And then I was happy with the eyes. So since I don't have little shells, I still was thinking about like the shelled chest area, and I decided to go for it. So I have these. I got these shells at Dollar Tree as well, and I'm just going to kind of overlap 3 of them into kind of like a feather on a chest pattern. And I'm really glad I did it. I thought this turned out so cute. And just attaching it with some hot glue. And my little coastal snowy owl is really coming together. I decided to outline the little ridges on it with that aqua paint pen, just to bring a little bit of blue detail in there and kind of do like a little outline. I kind of covered up what I had painted there before, and I'm just kind of trying to bring that out. I decided it has a little bit too much pink on that one shell there, and so I'm going to use a little bit of that ivory chalk paint to paint my shell. I don't really want it to have pink. I want it to be like really white and that blue color and less pink. So I painted that and painted my ridges back on. And I'm just kind of trying to get it exactly the way I like it. When I used the chalk paint on the shells, it like really made them very matte color, and they didn't look like shiny shells anymore. So I'm just using a big blob of the glossy Mod Podge over my shells, and I painted that on, and it made them nice and shiny again. The shine that I took away when I painted it with the chalk paint for sure. And then this is just a giant Jenga block. I got these at Five Below, and I am just going to hot glue that on the back so that my owl will stand up on my tier tray. Oh, there he is. I think he might even need a name. I decided he needs a little bit more outline, so I go around just the edges with some more of that Antique Wax by Waverly and just distress the edges lightly to bring out his shape even more. And I get him to where I am very happy with him. There he is. What is like the white owl's name on Harry Potter? Hedwig? Okay, maybe this guy can be Hedwig. That would be fun. Then I decided that he needed more. So I wanted to do feathers for his little wings there. So I am just making a super easy tassel with some of this twine from the Dollar Tree. And I thought that would be cute to make his little feathers out of. And I don't really need the top part, but you can't really make a tassel without doing it that way. So I just go ahead and I'm making another one. I'm trying to remember how many times I went around because I kind of wanted them to be even. And you just loop those around your fingers and then tie off the top part and then cut the bottom, and it gives you a little simple tassel. So I'm kind of happy with that. I'm just kind of trimming the size. And then I'm going to attach it with hot glue. And then I'm not going to leave the whole tassel on there. I just want the little wing part. So I'm just going to snip off the top once I get it hot glued down. And kind of trimming him up a little bit. And I'm glad I did this. I thought I was done with this project, but he just kept evolving. But he's so super special now. The twine, the shells, the colors. He looks very beachy, and the little sea glass for his nose. And Hedwig is just about complete. Just finishing up gluing and trimming this side. And I love how he turned out. What do you think? Super cute. Okay, I got this owl planter at Dollar General. I think it was $3. Did that say $3.50? $3, something like that. And it's a really nice size, and it's beautiful white color. But I wanted to make him blue. I know owls aren't blue, but I don't care. I'm gonna make this owl blue. And so I'm using some of that agave chalk paint by Waverly and just a small brush because I'm going around his eyes. Because I don't want to get any on the white parts, like the outlines around his big owl eyes. I'd like those to stay white. So I'm just being very careful and going around all the sides. I didn't tape it off because I thought it would be too hard to tape off a circle. And so the small brush it is. And this is that really like glossy pottery. So if you do screw up, you can just wipe it off. It comes off really easy. But it's really important to use chalk paint on this because chalk paint will like stick to anything, and it sticks to this like super glossy surface with no problem. And he's got like this like the feather scales all over, and so I'm just kind of going all over with my foam brush once I got the fine details and painting this guy blue. I'm also going to do the bottom just to give him more of a finished final touch. And just trying to get it to kind of look uniform from where I went from the brush to the foam brush, and just trying to even that up. Now, I wasn't really worried about great coverage on this because I'm going to distress it, so I don't care if you can see some of the white through my blue paint. That's perfectly fine. And just giving it a little speed up with my heat gun there. And I'm going to go ahead and color his beak in with this like light brown goldish color paint pen. And I'm going to do the same thing on his eyes. You could always do black. I thought brown would be a nice contrasting color and kind of go with my color scheme more that I'm doing. So I just do the pupils of his eyes and his beak with that. And then I'm going to go around the top there and just finish off what I hadn't had painted before because I was holding it from that side. I'm going to leave the inside white. That's completely fine. You're not going to be able to see in there anyway. This has got a nice lip, so it gave a really nice place to end painting for sure without looking sloppy. And then I'm going to go in with that ivory chalk paint and my chunky brush and distress it. Now, I tried to use a baby wipe and it took off some of the paint, so don't do that. Just if you're going to distress it really lightly so that you don't need to take any off with a baby wipe because of this ceramic. It's so glossy that paint is totally going to come off. So I am just giving it a light distress all over. If I got too much, I go in with a chunky brush, back with the blue to make it clean it up a little bit since I can't use the baby wipes. And I get him just how I like him, and I decide to fill him up. I don't want to waste a lot of product, though, on stuff you're not going to be able to see, so I'm just going to use some of this foam from the Dollar Tree and use that to fill up the bulk of the vase because it's kind of big. And then I'm going to use some of these white pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. These are the little picks. They're kind of hard to get them off the picks. I had to use some pliers. And I'm just going to use those to fill up the bottom parts. And then for the top, I'm going to use these little clips and just take the clips off the bottom because these have stems when the other ones didn't. And these are going to be the ones that are going to be on top, so they're going to be super visible. I decided I had a little bit too much foam because they were sticking out too much, but I think that is good to go. Okay, I got this little owl at Dollar Tree too, back in the crafter square, like with the wood items. And this is going to be a super easy DIY. I'm using that antique wax by Waverly and a foam brush, and I'm going all over and then wiping that off the excess with a paper towel. And this wood is so easy to stain, and this is so quick to do. Dries fast, brings out the wood grain and these cheap dollar products. It just looks really pretty. Now, since this is open like this, I'm going to have to do the inside as well because I'm planning on just putting one of those little battery operated candles inside. So you're going to be able to see inside, and I want it to look like a finished product. So I even do the bottom and the inside with the antique wax by Waverly. And I try to get all the little exposed places of wood. And then I want to give it just a light distress with some ivory chalk paint. Nothing too crazy, something just to make it look a little bit more rustic, a little bit more coastal. And follow that up with a baby wipe to wipe off any excess. And I'm going to kind of do that on all the surfaces of this little candle holder. I didn't know what to do with this. A candle fits in there perfectly. I guess you could also use it as a vase or something like that too. They make a lot of these products at the Dollar Tree. They're like a little box. I thought about like closing up the edges and trying to make him look like a 3D owl, but I didn't really think it would add anything to the project, so I kind of left it as is. Just trying to get all the surfaces distressed evenly, the front, back, middle, and insides. And here's my little battery operated candle to put inside. I thought he was a little plain though. So I'm gonna take just a little bit of twine and tie a simple little bow and attach that just on one of his ears, just to give him a little something extra. There's really no way, I could have given him colored eyes, I guess, but it didn't really work with the design. There is a little bit of a cutout. My hot glue gun was not on, and so I was just trying to find some glue to glue down that little twine bow. And what I decide is that it's a little too brown on brown. So I'm going to just use a little bit of white tissue paper and try to cover up the eyes and the nose from the inside. So I'm just cutting out a piece, and I just keep trimming it until it will fit nicely in there. I just want to cover the eyes and the nose so that when you see the candle glowing through it, it makes them appear white, and it's going to give a little bit more contrast to this piece and make it stand out a little bit. Just using a little school glue stick on the tissue paper and attaching that on the inside. Super easy. And you can see the purple glue, so I'm just using my heat gun to dry that glue, and there we go. Project complete. Okay, I got this little owl at the Dollar Tree as well. It's got this beautiful bumpy pattern all over. It's so pretty. I love this thing, but I wanted it to look like wood. So it's this white surface, this white ceramic that is meant to be painted. So I'm just going to use Antique Wax by Waverly, and working with my chunky brush, I'm just going to paint this guy all in one direction. And it brings out that beautiful texture that is on this owl. Is so pretty. But I wanted it to look like wood, like kind of like it was hand carved. So I'm doing all my strokes like in the same direction to try to make it look like a wood grain. And it's okay that it's not like full coverage. I want like some of the white to show through around all the little things that will look kind of like carvings. So I'm carefully going all over. I'm trying to get it dry. The antique wax on like the ceramic doesn't dry too quickly like it does on wood. And so I'm just kind of touching up and going around with my heat gun and trying to get it as dry as I can. I'm trying not to touch it because I don't want to mess up, take off the paint or the antique wax off the surface of it before it gets a chance to dry. So I've got a pretty good coverage. And anytime I see any little white areas, I'm just trying to touch them up a little bit and try to get this guy dry. Still a little afraid to touch it, but I think he looks pretty good. Then I wanted to just distress him a little bit. So I'm just using a chunky brush and some of that ivory chalk paint and kind of going all over the same thing to bring out some more of that detail on all the little bumpy pattern on here. You could, if you wanted, you know, on this owl, like use paint pens and really make these guys colorful if you wanted to. And you gotta be really careful though, because until this gets dry, it's kind of fragile. But there he is. Looks like a wood owl carved. So here is another wood owl that I got at the Dollar Tree. I got this back in the Crafter Square section. It's not a Halloween item, just a regular animal item. And I am going to make this little owl blue. So I'm using some of that agave chalk paint by Waverly. It's got two panels. It's got like the top panel glued onto the bottom panel. But I thought I would just go ahead and make it all blue. And then I can paint the top panel a different color. So I'm just using a little pick because the little feathers here on his chest, the paint was kind of stuck in, to clean those up and make that blue paint go down to the bottom layer of our little sign. Trying to touch up the sides a little bit where you might be able to see them. And just drying that. These things are so easy to paint, chalk paint and this blank wood. One coat is definitely all you need. And then the top layer there where his eyes or his face and his feathers, I am going to paint the ivory color. And so I am using a foam brush and kind of going all over. Since it's a raised elevation, I really didn't need to have it taped off or anything. I'm just being careful. I'm also doing his little top of his head there. That was a separate piece of wood as well, and making that one white too. Then I think he needs a little distressing, so I use a chunky brush and some of that ivory chalk paint. Go around all the edges of the blue to give him a little bit more of a coastal vibe. And just drying that paint and trying to clean up the little feathers there on his chest. Then I want him to have a little distress, so I'm going to use some of that Antique Wax by Waverly, a chunky brush, and kind of distress him all over. And just follow that up with a baby wipe to make it not quite so dark. Now I want him to stand up because he's going to be on our tier tray too. So I'm going to use one of those giant Jenga blocks and a little bit of hot glue and just attach that to the back of my owl. And he is ready to go. Just touching up the bottom of that stand so the front of it's blue. It kind of matches in with his little tail feathers. And distressing that. And he's ready. Okay, this is a thrift find. I'm not going to call it a flip because I didn't have to do anything to it. I got this at the thrift store the other day for, I think, $2.99. Excuse me. And it is awesome. It's this great big giant owl. There's lots of crochet work on here. He's been sewn together because I don't know his story. I'm hoping he has a great story. His tail feathers had kind of been ripped off, so I'm just reattaching those with hot glue. Those are kind of made out of felt. He's like really fuzzy, and oh, he has such great detail. The little crocheted wings and the crocheted eyes. I love him, and he's a big piece. I'm going to put him on the top of my 3-tier tray, and I think he's going to be like the standout piece for my owl tier tray. Just trimming up any fuzzies and any worn parts, and he's ready to go. I also got this at the thrift store for 99 cents. It's like a little tree votive candle. Don't have to do anything to it. I think I'm going to use it as a riser on my tier tray for one of my little owls. And then I got this owl at the Dollar Tree. They have these right now. They have them like in a couple different colors. The dark brown and like a light tan. I want this guy to be blue. I want to bring in another punch of blue on my tier tray. I want to do like a good blue item on each tier of my 3-tier tray. So I'm using some of that agave chalk paint by Waverly and going all over my little owl, kind of trying to work in one direction with my foam brush. This guy has lots of texture. He's got a hole in the bottom, and so that is what I'm using to hold him, and I'm able to paint him all over. I kind of like that I got the brown owl because you can see the brown like showing through with the blue, and it kind of distresses itself a little bit. But I'm also going to distress it with some of this ivory chalk paint by Waverly. And see all the little feathers and scales all over? It brings out that beautiful texture and makes him look super distressed. I can't really use a baby wipe on this, so I'm going to go back in with a little bit more blue if I did a little bit too much white, and kind of go back and forth until I get like a distress that I like. Isn't he cute? And this project was so simple. If you see some of these owls at the Dollar Tree, pick them up. I also got these at the Dollar Tree. They're salt and pepper shakers, and I thought they were so cute. They're like this caramel color brown. I decided I'm going to paint them a couple different colors. This one I'm going to do ivory, chalk paint by Waverly, and I'm going to kind of do the same thing I did on that last owl. Just kind of go all over. He's got a great texture, and I don't really care that they're salt and pepper shakers. I'm just going to use them as little owls for my tier tray. I thought they'd be really cute if I maybe set them up on one of those little mini straw hay bales there that you see. I also picked that up at Dollar Tree and with their fall section, and these were in with the fall stuff as well. I think I've only seen these maybe at one of my Dollar Trees though, so I'm not sure they're super common, but if you see them, pick them up. They're super cute. I'm just going to leave the holes for the salt and pepper shaker on top. I don't really care. I could fill them, but I decided to make this one blue, so I'm using that agave chalk paint by Waverly and going all over this one. At first I was going to do them both the same color, but then I was like, oh, why would I do that? I can just do one white and I can do one blue. It's going to go with that color scheme of my tier tray, and you can paint your owl any color that you want. And these paint pretty well. That chalk paint, you know, sticks to anything. You do have to be careful not to touch it when it's wet though, because it is definitely going to take all the paint off. So I'm trying to make sure they are good and dry with my heat gun. And you can kind of see the brush strokes through there. You can see the brown below it. And I kind of like that. It kind of makes them look a little bit more like wooden and weathered. And I'm trying to make sure that I have good coverage on them, and I think they look pretty good. I decided I want them to have their eyes painted, so I'm using that like gold color paint pen, and I'm just painting the little pupils of their eyes and their tiny little beak in that gold color just to bring it out a little bit. That's all the detail painting I'm going to do on these little salt and pepper shakers. I really think that's all they need. And I'm just going to put them on this little hay bale. Open that over a trash can. It was extremely messy when I opened it. And those are ready to go. I got this little owl wood box at the Crafter's Square at Dollar Tree. And I thought this would be really great for a tier tray. It's got the little owl cutout pattern. They had several different ones. This one's kind of more cartoonish. They had other ones as well. And at first I was going to go in with my detail brush and try to go around the owl. And I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and use the Antique Wax by Waverly on the whole thing. I can always paint the owl later because the owl design is etched on there, so I will know exactly where to paint. So getting that kind of cleaned up, I'm only going to do the top where you can see it. Then I'm also going to do the rest of the box because I'm going to put it on my tier tray all together kind of as a box and lay it on its side so that you can see the owl on the front. So once I get the Antique Wax by Waverly all over the box, I just follow that with a paper towel to wipe off any excess. Super easy to finish it that way. Now we're ready to work on our little owl. Trying to decide what color I want him to be. And I decided I want him blue. So I'm going to use this pretty blue, bluish like mint green color paint pen. And I'm just going around and painting him in. It's super easy. It's kind of just like coloring with a marker and a coloring book because you can see the little outline etched in and kind of going all over. So I did the outline of his head, his wings, his chest, in this pretty blue color. And then I decided I wanted like the eye areas to be white since I'm doing a lot of blue and white. Unfortunately, I must be using this white one too much because I've already used all the paint inside of it. So I'm going to have to use just a tiny brush and some ivory chalk paint and carefully draw the circles on there with my paint. And it was actually pretty easy as long as you have a small enough paintbrush where you have a little bit of control, and painting that white. It gives me a nice little contrast. These colors definitely go with my color scheme. And then I'm going to do a second coat of the blue just because it wasn't very vibrant over that antique wax background. I want it to pop just a little bit, so I'm going to go a second coat to bring out that blue, and I think that looks pretty cute. Just going to give that a dry, and I do want to distress him just a little bit. So I'm going to go in and distress him, but first I'm trying to figure out, I wanted a little texture, something to go around the rim of the top of the box. So I thought some of this burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree would work well. Just waiting on my hot glue gun to heat up there. So I'm going to go ahead and distress it, and just using my chunky brush and that ivory chalk paint, I'm just going to kind of distress it all over and on the edges, working in one direction. And that's going to give me more of that coastal rustic feel. I love distressing everything. I think it gives things such cute character. And I'm also going to go ahead and clean that up a little bit with a baby wipe. And I'm going to distress the box as well. And I do my edges. I work in one direction, do a little in the middle. And I'm also going to do the bottom so that it is all one kind of color scheme. And since it's on a tier tray, you might see the back, which is one reason why I also painted the bottom. And then I'm going to attach that burlap twine or ribbon with just a little bit of hot glue, just a couple places on each side. We'll definitely keep it there, and it just gives me a little bit more texture to this square box and gives it a little bit more fun. I got that glued on all four sides. I'm just going to trim up the end here. And he is ready to go, our little blue owl. He's super cute. Okay, this little owl I got at Target Dollar Spot for $1. And he is a little tiny guy. He's white. He's that ceramic that's meant to be painted. I want him to be a white owl though, but I want him to look finished. So I'm using just that ivory chalk paint by Waverly, and I'm just using a chunky brush, and I'm kind of going all over. I mean, it's not much of a difference in color, but it's definitely a difference in texture, and kind of getting him painted that color to make him a snowy owl. Then I'm using that light blue paint pen to paint his little eyes. I'm just going to give him blue eyes. Why not? And then I'm going to use that gold color to give him a little nose. And detail a couple of his little feathers there that are on his chest to bring those out. And super easy project. That's basically all I'm going to do. Trying to find any areas that don't have the ivory chalk paint, and he's done. Okay, I thought trees go with owls, right? So I got one of these metal trees at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to make it look like a fun fall tree. So I just used some antique wax by Waverly to do the trunk, and then I'm just doing a little blotches all over because I want it to look like a fall tree with like brown leaves and yellow leaves and orange leaves. So this is, I think this is maize chalk paint, and you can see I'm just kind of going all over, just like I did with the brown, and kind of blending that in a little bit as well to give a little variety. And then I'm going to bring in some orange too because fall colors. And this is that pumpkin chalk paint by Waverly. And I'm just going to use a chunky brush on it as well and do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit all over. And I just want this to look very abstract. This is a nice tall piece. I think this is going to work great for the back of my tier tray and where it will peek out from behind other items. And then I'm going to go all over with another little coat of yellow, just distressing it all over and blending all of those colors together. And that is all there is to that. And then I thought it would be fun to put a little owl in the tree. So I got these little stickers at the Dollar Tree, and I picked one out that has a little blue on it. And I'm just attaching that to my tree. Easy peasy. Okay, I have a pole that sticks out in the center of the top of my 3-tier tray, and I thought one of these owl bows from the Dollar Tree would look super cute on there. And it's already got the little twist tie on the back, so I can just use that to attach that to my tier tray, so you won't be able to see the pole. And then for filler, I'm going to use some of these maple leaves from the Dollar Tree, and just all I have to do is pull them off the stem, and they'll make great filler. Okay, it's tier tray time. So this is that little owl bow. I'm just going to attach that to my pole. There used to be a ring on there. I did take it off just because I don't really need it on this one. I do have it attached on my other one like this. And there is my thrift find, that giant owl that's all crocheted. He's so cute. I'm going to put him behind the pole. And there's our little blue and white owl that we painted. And that is that thrift candle that looks like wood. And I'm just going to sit that little tiny owl I got at the Target on top of that. Moving on to the second tier, we have our little candle holder we made from the Dollar Tree, and our little blue owl that we did from a Dollar Tree owl. Here's our owl box. I'm going to kind of put that guy kind of in the back. I'm tripping over my camera stand. And there's the one that we made to look like that beautifully hand-carved owl. And then I'm just using some of those yellow and orange maple leaves to fill up any open spots I have and to give a little pop of color on this tray. And once I get it good, I'm going to go ahead and work on tier number 3. There's our little hay bale and our little salt and pepper shakers that we made blue and white. And just going to put those two next to each other as little buddies on there. There's our little fall tree with our little owl in there. Throw a couple maple leaves here in the back to fill up any area that doesn't have anything. Here is our coastal owl. I love how that guy turned out. I wanted him to have a star roll here. And our little planter from the Dollar General that we painted blue and filled with white pumpkins. I absolutely love how this turned out. I think it's super cute for fall. Just trying to rearrange. I kind of wanted a blue piece on each level and kind of alternate. And then I'm going to fill in the top with a few of those maple leaves. And here is the final result. From the top, this is our top tier of our owl tier tray. And I really like how that little wood candle makes a great little stump for my owl to stand on. We have our little owl candle holder here in the back, along with that one that looks like a hand-carved owl. So pretty. I love the texture. Our blue and white owl and our little box owl. I thought about putting a candle in there as well, but I decided he was fine. And there's our little salt and pepper shakers that we painted blue and white on a little hay bale. Our little coastal owl with the seashells, and the rope and the bottle cap eyes. And here is our little planter that we painted blue, filled with pumpkins, and our little fall tree with a little owl in it. Oh my goodness. I think this is so cute, and I had so much fun putting this owl tier tray together for fall. What was your favorite project? Please leave a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Until next time, everybody, have fun decorating for fall. Bye.